Good afternoon. The December 2nd, 2015 meeting of the Thousand Oaks Council on Aging is now being called to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Francine, will you please call the roll?
Please say here are present when I call your name. Commissioner Allen. Present. Chair Fotheringham. Here. Commissioner Gett.
Here.
Commissioner Gorbach.
Here.
Commissioner Heggie. Here. Vice Chair Healy.
Here.
Commissioner Norkin. Here. Commissioner O'Connor.
Present.
And Commissioner Shentas.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, we now have an opportunity for public comments. I haven't received any public comments. So I guess we won't have any today. We'll go to the liaison reports. And Donna, you have something from CSVP.
Yes, I do. I have a Council on Aging report from Rick Tanaka, who's the director of the
Mayo Senior Volunteer Program. 2015 Volunteer Recognition Luncheon will be taking place next week at the North Ranch Country Club in Westlake. Volunteers that have worked over 150 hours over the year were invited to this event, and over 300 of those have picked up their tickets to attend. So that's going to be a lovely event, and there are new ways, new volunteer opportunities and ways of serving, and that might just be a time for you to be invited to next year's special event. If you are interested in getting involved with the Thousand Oaks Police Department, an opportunity is coming up to participate in the Citizen Academy. This 12-week course is designed to foster relationships between the residents of the Conejo Valley and local law enforcement. There's also an opportunity through the American Red Cross is also looking for volunteers to help with local blood drives, to offer presentations in local classrooms about emergency preparedness, and to help with administrative tasks to keep the American Red Cross prepared to respond to community needs. Tax time is approaching, and CSVP is proud to again be offering the free tax preparation service to seniors and low-income households. Last year, this amazing team of volunteers completed over 1,500 returns, and this year we are striving to assist even more households. We are currently taking sign-ups for new volunteers. Previous accounting experience is not required, just basic PC and Windows skills. There will be IRS certified training for all volunteers. Please call the CSVP office at 805-381-2742 for more information on these and other volunteer opportunities. Another event that's coming up, and last year it was just such a wonderful success, is the 2016 Wellness Fest. And that is going to be at the Global Adult Community Center on Wednesday, January 20th, 2016. This year, we will be bringing all of your wellness needs under the big top, sponsored by Kaiser Permanente and Home Helpers, with additional support from Moving Seniors Forward. The first 300 guests to pick up their free advance ticket will get a free lunch at the event. Tickets will be available at the Global Adult Community Center beginning Monday, January 4th, 2016. Another thing that's being offered is the Thousand Oaks Dial-A-Ride will be offering a free shuttle service in the Global parking lot on the day of the event to help with impacted parking. please call the Caneo Senior Volunteer Program Office at 805-381-2742 for more information. So we hope you'll take advantage of these great events that are coming up. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. I noted that many of the events you described are Global Center events as well. Does anybody have anything to add as far as what's going on at the Global Center? Okay. I'd like to mention that the Ventura County Area Agency on Aging is currently in the process of revising its strategic plan. I believe it's for the next 5 years. So if you have any interest or input into this plan or wish to have some input and so forth, please contact VCAAA. They can be located through the County of Ventura's website. And their meetings, which occur every other month, are open to the public, and the meeting dates and times and places and so forth are posted on their website. And now I'd like to turn the meeting over to Vice Chair Healy, who will describe our commissioner reports.
Okay. Our first report is going to be on education. And Commissioner Gorbach, would you help us with that?
Yes, thank you very much. Late last year, Commissioner Allen recommended that I take a look at a website called Coursera.org. That's COURSERA.org. So I took her advice and I took a look at it, and it is fabulous. It is fabulous. This is it's an online series of hundreds of free classes from the most renowned universities around the world, and most of the course offerings are completely free. Let me just read you a small sample of what you can learn at Coursera. Here we have a course on Buddhism and modern psychology from Princeton University. The Modern World from 1760 to 1910 from the University of Virginia. The Ancient Greeks at Wesleyan University, Roman Architecture at Yale University, and on and on and on. There are hundreds of courses. It is fascinating. Chinese for beginners, right from Peking University. I mean, could you ever take a better course than Chinese from Peking University? So most of the courses are free. Now, the exceptions are there are fees for specialized courses that are part of a certificate program. And for instance, I took a look at the certificate program called TESOL, Teaching English to Students to Speakers of Other Languages. And that is a 4-course curriculum, and each course is $49. Still, in the world of higher education, that is very, very inexpensive. So again, this opportunity is offered through Coursera, COURSERA.org. And just as a quick reminder, when I bring you this information, it is for informational purposes, and I am not recommending nor endorsing any particular program. So please take a look at this opportunity and do your due diligence and check it out and see if it's something that you might enjoy and might fit into your life. So again, thank you, Commissioner Allen. This was a great, great opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gorbach. Commissioner Gitt, will you please give us the updated report on the Senior of the Year and how it's going?
Well, good afternoon, everybody. As you know,
Mike?
and you have my slides up? Okay. As you know, each year the Council on Aging recognizes seniors who have made a difference in our community. And so as 2015 draws to a close, I'm pleased to announce that nominations are now open for the 2015 Senior of the Year. No, it's for the year that we just finished. So nomination forms are online at TO Oaks website, www.toaks.org/seniors, or by calling the Council on Aging at 805-381-7362, or by emailing councilonaging@toaks.org. The nominations are due by April 1st, and although that seems a long way away, it's never too early to start the process and pick somebody that's deserving. The Senior of the Year dinner will be held on June 2nd at the Goebel Center. The nominees must be 60 years of age or older, must reside in the Thousand Oaks, Newbury Park, Ventura County portion of Westlake, or the unincorporated portion of TO. The nomination forms, as I mentioned, are due April 1st. By April 5th, we'll notify the selected nominees, and we'll ask them to fill out a volunteer history form, which is due back by April 15th. On April 20th, the nominees will be notified of their selection, and we will then schedule interviews in the latter part of April. And then, of course, the dinner will be on June 2nd. So even though April 1st is a long time away, I encourage everybody to start the nomination process. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gitt. Our next Commissioner report will be on the Conejo Valley Village, and I will do that report myself. We have been working on this since last January, I guess, and we've really accomplished a lot. There is a team of us, several who are here today, who are just incredible. I always think that I worked with people this good, I would have been president of my company. So just an excellent team working on behalf of getting this program started. We have reserved our name. This was a while ago. It's going to be called CVV, or Conejo Valley Village. It is going to be it has to be a nonprofit organization. We have to have a 501c3. And so that is our next step. As of today, we received our incorporation, or as of 11/24 is our official incorporation date with the Secretary of State in California, which is a big deal, a lot of paperwork. And we will get the certified copy of that, our California tax ID number, and the California corporation number next week. We should have all of that. So it's an incredible amount of stuff to set up a nonprofit. It's like setting up a small company that's just not going to make any money. So, but it's for a very good purpose. So please, if any of you are interested, contact us we have a website at www.conejovalleyvillage.org.com, I think it is right now. I'm not sure. Okay. He's supposed to know. Anyway, please let us know. You can contact Francine at the city. She can give your information to me. Any number of us will help you and share information. If you would be interested in volunteering in the formation process, not the actual providing services for other people in the village, but for getting it set up. And there is a lot: accounting, writing. There's just a ton of stuff to do. Please notify us, and you can certainly do it either on our website, or you can go on and you can do it through Francine, and we will personally call any of you back. So thank you very much, and we're really off and running at this point. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Healy. The floor is now open for commissioner comments. Do we have? Yes, Ron?
Yes, I have a comment. There's a new study out from Cal State, UC Davis, the Institute for Population Health Improvement. And the study was conducted by Dr. Kenneth Kaiser, who's the director of their Institute for Population Health Improvement. And I'm not going to go through the whole report, but I've just picked a few things that kind of made me stand up and gasp when I read this. Cancer patients with Medi-Cal were most likely to be diagnosed at a late stage compared to those who have private insurance. Compared with patients with other kinds of insurance, cancer patients with Medi-Cal were generally less likely to have cancer caught at early stages. They receive recommended treatments and be alive 5 years after diagnosis. So it's not looking too good for Medi-Cal, according to this study. 39% of Medi-Cal patients were diagnosed at an early stage of breast cancer, as compared with 61% of those that have private insurance. And 57% of Medi-Cal patients diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer had favorable 5-year survival rates, compared with 71% of those privately insured. So you can draw your own conclusions from this and take action or inaction, whatever you choose. But these are the facts on this latest. This is the newest study on cancer patients.
Thank you, Commissioner Hagee. Does the private insurance include Medicare?
No. The private insurance are,
Mike,
yeah, Medicare. Well, Medicare is in the study. It's not considered private. But Medicare is not considered private, but it is in the study, so it's all under that one envelope. VA, Medicare, uninsured, even the uninsured fared better than those with Medi-Cal. So it was all kind of lumped into one as private, even though it included VA also.
All right, thank you. Any other commissioner comments? Yes, Commissioner Gorbach.
Thank you very much, Chair Fotheringham. I have a couple things I'd like to mention, and the first is that the City of Thousand Oaks is developing its first transit master plan. That is very cool, and they are inviting you to a series of workshops to discuss mobility needs and transportation priorities and the vision for the future of transportation in Thousand Oaks. And the first meeting, public meeting, is coming up this Friday, December 4th, at the Grant Brimhall Library. It's the main library on Jans Road. At 10 a.m., at 1 p.m., and at 4 p.m. And then there's going to be another meeting the following day, December 5th, at CLU in Swenson Hall 103 at 10 a.m. And the same day, the 5th, December 5th again, at the Westlake High School Library at 1:30 p.m. And then there are a couple other workshops open next week. I'm sure you can check these out in the newspaper or on the library website. So this is fabulous, and you do want to attend this if you've ever said to yourself, gee, I think transportation should be such and such. This is your opportunity to let the city know how you feel about the transportation mobility needs in Thousand Oaks. And then second, I'd like to mention a couple other lectures that are coming up. And again, this is going to be at the Grant Brimhall Library on Jans Road, coming up Wednesday, December 10th, called Let Us Entertain You. And it's a lecture on vaudeville given by Michael McCambridge, Dr. McCambridge at CLU. So I have gone to a number of these lectures at the library, and they are all fabulous. And then there's another one this one is going to be at the Newberry Park branch of the library coming up next week, Tuesday, December 8th, called Through the Looking Glass, A Chemist's Perspective on Lewis Carroll. And this is going to be given by Dr. Philip Hampton of Cal State Channel Islands from 7 to 8 o'clock, again, Tuesday, December 8th, at the Newberry Park Branch Library, Through Looking Glass, A Chemist's Perspective on Lewis Carroll. I think this city is so lucky to have libraries that give us such wonderful free educational opportunities. I often wonder if other cities have this type of opportunity, so don't pass it up. Grab a friend and go see a terrific lecture at one of your local libraries. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gorbach. Any other? Yes, Commissioner Healy.
I have been a long-term care ombudsman in Ventura County for about 8 years. This is a program where we visit people. It's a part of the Older Americans Act. It's mandated by the federal government that it is held everywhere. Some of them have different names, but I visit people in nursing homes or assisted living facilities. This is just a reminder that it's the holiday season, and if you have anybody you know, it doesn't have to be your closest friend, your mom. It can be somebody that used to be your neighbor. You never know how much a visit to someone in a facility means to them, and especially at the holiday time. 60% of people in California long-term care facilities of any type have no visitors at all. And while this is terrible every day, during the holiday season, if you happen to be in the room next to somebody who has lots of visitors, it's really, really difficult. Take a few minutes, stop by to see somebody. As I said, you don't have to know them well. You don't have to stay a long time. It's just amazing what it means to be remembered. So please try to do that during the holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioner comments? Yes.
This holiday season promises to be a record for people doing online shopping. And the police departments all over are warning us about people who drive around following the UPS and FedEx trucks and then picking up the packages off your front door. The best advice I could give is to make sure you have a tracking number for the shipments that you expect and check that number so you will know exactly when that package is going to hit your doorstep.
I have something to add to that I heard today.
Yes.
I heard this morning that UPS is now providing a service where you can direct it to go to a location in your community, all your packages, and you can just go there and pick them up. So it's a small business, any small business that's near your house or something like that. So that's a really good idea because if you've watched the news, it's rampant now.
I presume you need to set this up with a small business in advance.
Oh, yeah. One would hope.
Okay. All right. All right. Any other comments? Well, sorry to hear all the bad news today. This is our holiday program, keeping. And we won't be singing any carols that I know of today, but we do have a holiday program coming up, and I'd like to turn the floor over to Commissioner Gorbach to introduce our guest speaker.
Thank you very much, Chair Fotheringham. So I first met our speaker a couple years ago when I attended a presentation she was giving at the Global Center. She had been invited to speak by the health team of the Senior Adult Master Plan Implementation Team, and I enjoyed listening to her so much. I thought to myself, if I'm ever lucky enough to become the program chair for the Council on Aging, I definitely want to ask Tori to come speak to us at a televised meeting so that a whole lot of people could hear her. So here I am, and that's what I did. And so today I am delighted to introduce to you Tori Cohen, who is a registered dietitian and the Director of Food and Nutrition Services for Los Robles Hospital here in Thousand Oaks. Tori is a Thousand Oaks native who earned a degree in nutritional science from Cal State Long Beach, and she's been with Los Robles Hospital for 8 years. She is going to speak to us today about holiday treats on a budget and while we can still enjoy ourselves. And so I turn the microphone over to Tori. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Okay. So our objectives is to identify some attributes that make food taste really good. When I think of budget, I think of two things. I think of financial, of course, but I also think of how does it impact your body. So how are you going to spend your food budget to really have a good experience but not overdo it? So we're going to talk about why certain attributes make foods taste really good and what modifications you can make to have the same taste without negatively impacting yourself. And to identify tricks for preparing a meal on a budget like we talked about, and then also developing a strategy for navigating food selections at holiday functions, whether you're hosting on your own or somebody is inviting you to come over. So these are some things that make food taste really good. Fat, salt, and sugar. So we all have taste buds, and we taste sour, bitter, sweet, and salty. And so these items hit your taste buds and you get a feeling, right? It just makes you feel so good. Unfortunately, they can negatively impact your health if we overdo it. So we are going to talk about how to use items that give you the same mouthfeel and flavor and hopefully texture without utilizing fat, salt, and sugar to excess. You're probably going to still have some because we can't eliminate it completely, nor do we want to, because some fats are healthy, like avocados and olive oil. They're high in omega-3s. They're very beneficial for heart health and for your brain. Sodium is, we need some salt in our body as it's natural, it's a mineral, and we need it to create that equilibrium. However, if we have too much, it can cause adverse effects, hypertension, it can affect swelling in the feet or fingers. So we want to get salt naturally and try not to add it. And I'm going to give you some tricks for that. And then sugar. Oh my gosh, sugar. We all love it. It brings this great sensation to us. It's pleasurable to eat sugar. However, too much sugar is going to negatively impact how we function because it's going to give your body these steep increases and declines. So you feel real good where you're on a high, and then you drop and you have no energy. So we want to have foods in our system that give us that sustained feeling of energy without those large spikes. And I'll give you some tips on that as well. So to modify for fat, if your recipe calls for oil or it calls for butter, consider using applesauce, fruit purees. You could use dates or prunes or apricots. Avocado is a wonderful, wonderful substitute for saturated fat like butter and oils. Mashed ripe bananas, although they have a little bit of a stronger flavor than an avocado, they also work really well in breads and baked goods, as well as using evaporated skim milk for cream. Egg beaters for egg whites or egg whites instead of whole eggs. And then Greek or plain yogurt. The differences in the yogurts, the Greek yogurt's going to have more protein. So if you're looking to get more protein without eating meats, Greek yogurt's a great way to go. But I do want to go back to eggs for a second. So the yolk is where the fat and cholesterol are. So if you're watching your intake of fat and cholesterol, you want to limit the amount of yolks that you consume in about a week's time. So the American Heart Association recommends that you have no more than 2 whole eggs a week if you're being cautious about your intake of cholesterol. So substitutes to be able to still get the protein and the binding power of eggs. You can use an egg beater, which they've taken out the cholesterol and just left you with the liquid, or an egg white. The ratio for your egg whites to whole egg is 2-to-1. And some salt alternatives. Using fresh or even dried herbs, spices, garlic, yum, onions, citrus fruits, oranges, lemons provide this really great flavor without needing to add salt. Salsas, making salsas or making some kind of a relish or a jam with fresh fruits and vegetables and adding herbs and spices for seasonings without the additional sodium is a wonderful way to add flavor to fish, to pork, to chicken in a healthful way. Okay, so sugar, my favorite topic. So vanilla is a wonderful way to give you flavor without giving you the added sugar. I wrote on here what you would do with it. So you want to cut the sugar in half and add a teaspoon of vanilla for the replacement. Agave nectar has really hit the market by storm, and it comes in flavors. It comes natural plain that doesn't have any additives to it, that also can be used as a substitute, as well as maple syrup, honey, applesauce, raisins, cinnamon. These are all things that Mother Nature produces without having to go through a process which causes it to be more refined and break up into the body much more rapidly, which gives us those spikes that we're looking to to decrease. So I have some notes here because there are different ratios for these items in recipes. So I'm going to just take a moment and state them. So if you're going to look to use maple syrup, which contains a lot of antioxidants and is a good replacement, it's going to be half of what the sugar amount would be. So if it's calling for half a cup of sugar, you're going to use a quarter cup of syrup. Instead of half a cup of sugar, you could use also applesauce. Now it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So it's a half a cup of sugar, it would be half a cup of applesauce. Raisins, it's a little bit difficult to measure raisins, so you may have to do a little trial and error with this, but it's a little less than a 1-to-1 ratio for that. These things that are listed here are great in brownies, breads. You could take a whole apple and put some cinnamon and some cloves in there and have a nice baked apple, put it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 15 minutes, and you have the most wonderful dessert. Maybe put a little frozen yogurt on top, or some of your evaporated milk for that creamy flavor. So when you're preparing for a meal and you're looking to watch your financial budget, you first have to plan. Anything good comes with planning. So make a list, check your papers, check your local papers, and see what kind of coupons they have. See what kind of deals the stores are selling items for, and compare. I know sometimes you end up going to a lot of different markets just to fill your shopping list, but it does all add up. But if I can only stress one thing, it's planning ahead is going to give you such a huge payback in the end. So take a few minutes when you're doing crossword puzzles or hanging out in front of the TV and jot down a list. Look at recipes. Recipes inspire me. I love cooking. So I'll look at a recipe and I'll just get so inspired and I'll make my list right then. So what do we do when we get to the holiday table and you're faced with options? Ham, turkey, prime rib. You want to try to go for the white meat, lean as you can. I'm going to show you a comparison in a second between those three. If you choose red meat, I would suggest a tenderloin or a filet. They tend to be less saturated fat than your prime ribs. Ham is not going to give you as much fat as the red meat, the beef, but it's going to give you a lot of salt because it's cured. Even the uncured hams are still salty in flavor. So depending on what you're trying to balance, you may want to be cautious and stay safe. Chicken, turkey, pork tenderloin is really lean. The other white meat used to be called. I'm going to go forward and then I'm going to go back because I'm looking for my comparison slide. Okay, I think I just wrote it out on a piece of paper. I'll read it to you. Sorry about that. Okay, so for a 4-ounce portion, and we're going to talk about portion size in a little bit, but it's about the size of your palm. That's a serving size. For 4 ounces of turkey breast, no skin, is 150 calories and 1 gram of fat. Really good on the budget. Compared to your prime rib for the same size is 450 calories and 38 grams of fat. It tastes so good. So because we don't want to make this painful in any way, do a little of both. Compromise. Maybe you have 2 ounces of the prime rib and 2 or 3 ounces of the turkey. So it's not all of one thing. So you're getting the best of both worlds. You're filling up, you're getting the nutrients, but you're not getting all of the saturated fat and cholesterol that red meat is going to offer you. And then the ham is in the middle. It's 200 calories and 11 grams of fat, but the sodium is significantly higher in the ham over the meats. And it's because it's cured, but you can monitor the sodium you put on a roast or on a turkey. You can't always monitor the sodium in cured meats. You can soak them in water to leach out some of the salt, but it doesn't take away everything. So we want to load up on fruits and vegetables. And don't forget that what you do during the year to maintain your health, you want to continue doing around the holidays. But no, and I know too, there are some special things that we have around the holidays that we don't have all year long. So we want to balance that budget somehow. Choose seasonal fruits and vegetables. They're going to taste better. They're going to have more nutrients. They're going to have better color and flavor. Pumpkin, sweet potato, acorn squash, butternut squash. Get creative. Make a little acorn squash pasta or sweet potato. I love sweet potatoes. And you can do so much with them. If you don't want to get fancy, you could just slice it up, throw it on a baking sheet in the oven with maybe a little bit of olive oil so it doesn't burn, and toast it up, and you have these wonderful sweet potato chips that are so nutrient rich. Loaded with your vitamins. Okay. Our fruits, cranberries. I cannot say enough about cranberries. They're so good for you. One of those power foods. Very protective for your body. And they're usually only in season this time of year, unless you get dried cranberries. But note that dried cranberries, because they're dried, they're going to have a higher sugar content. So fresh cranberries, can them. If you like to can and make jelly, make some cranberry jam. So wonderful. Apples, pears, navel oranges, tangerines, they're all in season right now. So they're going to pack the biggest punch that you can get for your budget. So load up on those yummy fruits and vegetables. So I took a recipe, a mashed sweet potato recipe, and then a healthier version using root vegetables. So the original recipe with the cream and the butter and the brown sugar looks like that. 352 calories, 16 grams of carbohydrate, 16 grams of fat, 51 grams of carbohydrate, cholesterol coming from your butter, and then 160 milligrams of sodium. So we took some root vegetables, and now you can find them at the general grocery store, they were harder to find a long time ago. Carrots come in all flavors. You could get, beets are fantastic. And you just take some cinnamon and some walnuts and you put it in the oven. It creates its own liquid. Put it in the oven for beets take a long time, probably about 45 minutes to an hour at about 250, 275. And you are looking at 243 calories, 8 grams of fat, 41 grams of carbohydrate, 5 milligrams of cholesterol, which is wonderful. The sodium is a little higher, but it's I would get unsalted nuts, don't salt your vegetables, and you'll significantly reduce that. And that's for a cup portion. Yeah. So, liquid calories. We drink beverages, sometimes not realizing that they are impacting us greatly. So I have my notes here. So 6 ounces of red wine is going to cost you 144 calories. It's about 24 calories per ounce. White wine, about 120 calories, so white wine's less. Champagne, 130 calories. Regular beer, 12 ounces, 144 calories. Light beer, 12 ounces, 100 calories. Liqueurs, about 2 ounces, is 250 calories. I was a little shocked by that myself. Vodka, 65 calories, and whiskey, 70 calories. So remember that when you're planning for your holiday event, whether you're going somewhere or you're hosting, that the beverage calories count too. So there are non-alcoholic options that actually save you quite a bit of calories that can be festive and fun as well. You can take a fresh cranberry juice, 8 ounces, and add some sparkling soda to it, and it can be flavored. It can have lime or lemon in it, and it's 80 calories. So still get the flavor, you still get the festivity, but you don't get the big hit to your budget. Sparkling cider, sweet, it is 140 calories, so it's pretty comparable to a glass of wine. And then don't forget coffee drinks. So for those of us, including myself, who don't always drink our coffee black with nothing in it, it adds up fast. A little bit of cream, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of flavored syrups. Even one pump of those is going to add probably about 50 calories to that 6 ounce, 10 ounce, 12 ounce cup of coffee. So just be aware. If you choose to do it, it just might come off somewhere else. But it's just awareness. Portions matter. So just because it's a holiday, it's not, you don't have a green light to go, overboard. It's an opportunity to really enjoy with being mindful. So mindful eating, understanding what portions look like. So the palm of your hand is a serving size for your proteins. A deck of cards is another good visual. A fist is a portion of carbohydrates, rice, potatoes. So you can think of it that way. Some people have a hard time visualizing the hand. So another thing you could do is take your plate, a 9-inch serving plate, and visually cut it in half. Half of it, make a vegetable, non-starchy, broccoli, cauliflower, carrots, anything that's non-starchy that tastes good, that you like. And then the other half, I want you to cut again in half, a quarter of that, or a portion of that being your protein, the size of your hand, and the other portion being your starch, your sweet potato, your rice, your bread pudding, whatever is you make that you like that's popular. But don't forget your dessert would go in there too. So it all fits in that 9-inch plate. That will keep you on track. Don't forget to move. Movement is so important. I think we concentrate a lot on it during the year, but we may think, we're just going to relax in the holidays. We've been so busy, but it is important to even get out and walk if you can. Doesn't have to be very high impact, but something. Don't forget to move. It is so important for maintaining that balance. And going back to fluids, water and hydration, so very important. If you're exercising, drink plenty. If you do choose to drink alcohol or caffeinated beverages, also drink, because that's going to dehydrate you. So water, a little bit of lemon, a little bit of lime. Wonderful. Planning ahead is really the key. Don't go to a party or host a party on an empty stomach. I think, especially for people like myself who love to cook, we get so busy in the kitchen, we think, we're going to wait till dinner and we're going to just enjoy ourselves. But the problem with that is your body starts to shut down. You need fuel throughout the day. And if you wait and you save it, you're going to end up storing more than you're going to use, because your body can't physically process all of that food in that short amount of time. So whatever it feels it doesn't use, it's going to store as fat. And that's where the excess pounds come in over the holidays. So eat. Don't forget to eat. Space your meals out appropriately. And don't save it all for one meal. Doesn't work that way. Enjoy. Think ahead. If you're going to go to a friend's house or family's house, ask them, what are you serving? Maybe you can bring something that you know you can have a little bit more of and not feel guilty about. Don't go hungry. Like I said, watch your portion sizes. Go for homemade. If you're cooking or you're going somewhere, pick the homemade items, because oftentimes we can control those. And so hopefully the cook has controlled some of the items that are in there to make them more healthful for you, versus your processed prepared foods that are already done are going to be not as healthy. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed speaking to you about the holidays. A really great time of year. So hopefully I've given you some tips and tricks on how to navigate the holidays without feeling guilty at the end of it. Thank you so much. I forgot my question.
Yes. Are there any
Oh, yeah,
questions from the
questions.
commissioners?
Yes.
It sounds like the perfect drink would be the cranberry, the fresh cranberry juice.
Sure.
Do you just buy the cranberries and do it in like a Ninja or?
So if you have a Ninja or a food processor or a juicer, certainly you can. They're going to be very tart, though. You probably want to add something to them.
Okay.
Or you can buy a cranberry juice on the market. I would just avoid anything that says cocktail. If it says cranberry juice cocktail or fruit juice cocktail, it's going to have added sugar.
Okay. But you could make your own just by in one of the juicers and just add even an artificial sweetener if you use it.
Yeah, if you use it, absolutely, you could. And that would give it, you could use a little would go a long way.
What do you think are really good root vegetables to substitute? I've substituted cauliflower for like mashed cauliflower instead of mashed potatoes.
Right.
What are some other ones that are?
So your root vegetables are going to be your rutabagas, your turnips, your beets, parsnips, and some of them have a little bit stronger flavors than others. I like color. So go for color. You have golden beets, you have red beets, you have purple carrots, you have yellow carrots, you have white carrots. And the colors, even though it's still a carrot, the colors are providing you different nutrients. So eat the rainbow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rutabagas are a huge dish back east, and they're really not that popular out here, or not as popular.
Right.
And I love them. I think they're just great.
They are. And so introduce it to your friends, bring that as your side dish.
I do that all the time.
Excellent. That's
my daughters, everybody doesn't eat it, but me, I love it. So they won't try it.
That's excellent. Or put it in a stew or a soup would be another way to get it in there and get the nutrients from it without having people say, ooh, what's that?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ron?
Yes.
Yeah, I wish there were more people here today because your talk was wonderful.
Thank you.
Really learned a lot from it, and I'm going to recommend everybody watch the TV replays during the week.
Oh, thank you.
I had a question about the number of meals per day. You read different stories, so 3, 4, 5.
Of course.
I mean,
so everybody is individual. The general guidelines is 3 meals a day. If you get hungry in the afternoon, have a small stack. It doesn't work for everybody. Some people need to have 6 small meals a day. And when I say small, I'm little small, like appetizer plate size, small. I think the biggest thing to remember is combinations and fresh. Fresh is going to be your best way to go about it, whether it's a snack or it's a meal, and portion control. Really watching that.
Okay, now the second question is, which meal should be the largest? In other words, like in Germany, their main meal is the middle of the day. In other places, it's the evening meal, and you go to,
So, yes, we're a little different from the European countries. They walk a lot, in general, a lot more than we do. They're much more active than our average population here. I would say for us, our biggest meal should be breakfast. It's sometimes the hardest meal to have because we're so busy. We don't want to stop and have breakfast. So maybe you have a large lunch. I would reserve that large meal for breakfast or lunch and not for dinner, because typically after dinner, we sit down or recline. And where you're not moving, you're not using the energy. Your body at a resting state is going to use energy, but probably not enough to have that balance. So you're going to end up storing more if you eat a larger meal at night. And I cannot stress enough hunger cues, something I didn't talk about, but I'll address now. Think of your hunger on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 being you are so famished you could eat anything, and 10 being you're so full you could just roll over and fall asleep. You don't ever want to be a 0 or a 10. You want to be somewhere in the middle. And for individuals who have figured out what that means for them, are very successful at maintaining balance, because they eat when they're starting to get hungry, they stop when they're starting to get full. And it takes a good 20 minutes for your brain and your tummy to connect and say, yeah, I'm really full. So if it hasn't been 20 minutes and you're going back for seconds, I would take a step back and say, am I really hungry, or am I just going back because it tastes so good and I can't leave it sit there? So think about those those things when you're going for another portion or when you're making your plate. And it is so easy to build a huge plate and not even realize until you sit down, and then you feel guilty if you don't eat it because it's on your plate. So thinking ahead is going to be helpful. But I would say breakfast or lunch to be your larger meals.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for a terrific presentation.
Thank
really
you.
good. What's the latest research, please, on artificial sweeteners? And are some really better than others that are still killing the lab rats? Or and that's the first question. Or is anything okay in moderation? Which is just what I always tell myself. And then secondly, what is your take on vitamin supplements?
Mm-hmm.
Especially, I find as I get older, my appetite isn't always there, and so I'm taking the vitamins. I wonder, is this a waste of money, or is
Sure.
this a good thing to do? And what's your take on that, please?
Great questions. So alternative sweeteners, it's in the news all the time. It's been in the news for years and years and years. And one minute you're hearing it's killing rats and causing cancer, and the next minute you're hearing it's fine. What do I do with this information? Oh my goodness. And the bottom line is, and you hit the nail on the head, it's moderation. Now, anything processed, anything chemically derived, if you're going to eat a lot, and I mean, I don't think anybody could eat enough of it to really cause a problem, but if you're going to eat a lot of it, you may want to reconsider going natural. If you want something sweet, just eat the sugar, because it's not as chemically processed as your alternative sweeteners. I think alternative sweeteners absolutely have a place. And I say that because people that have problems controlling their blood sugars still want to have that flavor without the negative impact to their system, because having prolonged blood sugars at a high level is detrimental to the body. So if you can still modify and have the flavor without having the actual sugar spike, I think it's relative, and it should all be controlled in portions. I don't endorse any products, but sucralose, I feel, tends to be one of the probably safer. I know stevia is getting a lot of positive press these days. If you're prone to migraines, it can perpetuate migraines. I stay away from it because I do get hot headaches. So I think you just have to look at the information, look at the research, and just don't go extreme. A little bit is not going to hurt you. The FDA removed the cancer warnings on saccharin a long time ago because they did recognize the amount that they were giving these lab animals, rats in particular, a human would never consume in their lifetime. So I think we just have to process the information as intelligently as we can, and I don't think a little is harmful. And then your next question, vitamins, also an excellent question, because you're right. As we age or we go through different stages in our lives, our appetites aren't the same. So you want to be sure you're getting the appropriate nutrients to maintain, to keep your bones healthy, to be agile, to be able to do what you usually do and have energy to do it. And you do that with B vitamins and antioxidants, and vitamin D is really big right now. So my recommendation is to talk to your physician, and they would run a panel and they would let you know what you're deficient in. I don't think a multivitamin is harmful, but you don't want to overdo it either, especially if you're taking other medications or other supplements. You don't want it to interact or have too much. You don't want to cause a toxicity, although difficult for most vitamins and minerals, but you don't want to run that risk. There are some medications for bone health that could negatively interact. There are also, if anybody is undergoing treatment for cancer, radiation in particular, you don't want high levels of vitamins because it will negatively impact the treatment. So I would consult your physician and ask them if they can give you some guidance on that, and they would probably draw a lab panel and see. Because it's individual. It's not one size fits all. And then if they do recommend something, ask them what brand they prefer. Do they prefer to write you a prescription for it or get it over the counter? And there are some vitamin companies that are protected, that have gone through third-party surveys to make sure that what's in there is really in there. I believe it has a label on it, and the name is escaping me at this time, but it should have a label on the bottom that says it's been approved as a supplement. So it's just that. It's a supplement. It's not meant to replace food. If you can get it through food, that's great. But if you're having difficulty doing that, then supplements do have a place.
Thank you very much. One other very quick vitamin type, and this is going to sound really stupid, but I've always wondered. I have a really hard time swallowing large pills. And so I have discovered the vitamin gummies.
Oh, yes.
And I think, do they have the same effect, potency? Is that an okay thing to do as opposed to choking down a pill?
So they do have the potency. They have been formulated that way, but they're also going to have more binders and additives than your pill would have. So they're going to have more sugar. They do taste really yummy. But they, you know, I have to say, though, I'm not necessarily against them, and I'll tell you why, is, you know, you take a pill, and some people don't digest well. So you're taking a pill that now your body has to work a little harder to break down versus a gummy that starts breaking down in your mouth that, you know, is already being absorbed as you're breaking it down. So I think the potency is probably equal. I would just watch the sugar if that's something that you're monitoring anyhow. Otherwise, it's probably a non-issue.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I love the questions, yes.
This is something that comes up every time I eat with my adult children. I always learned that you really shouldn't be eating butter and definitely not whole milk. So I went down to like 1%. Now my kids who have their own children, will say, "Oh no, that's totally old. You should eat butter rather than a margarine or a butter substitute, right. And you might as well have, unless you're drinking a huge amount of milk, you might as well drink whole milk." What is the more recent theory on those?
So it's that debate. It does not go away, butter versus margarine. So butter, I'll just kind of break it down. Butter is going to be higher in saturated fat. It's natural. There's not a lot of processing that takes place in butter. So I think that's where it's favorable for a lot of people who are going the all-natural state, is just have the butter. Have a little bit, but have the butter. But know that because of the saturated fat, if you do have high cholesterol, it's going to negatively impact that. Versus a margarine that is man-made, but it's made with oil. So choosing a margarine that doesn't have trans fats, and I'll talk about that in 1 second, and is made with an olive oil or a canola oil and is not solid at room temperature, it's very loose and spreadable, not a stick, is not going to give you, it's not going to impact your cholesterol the way that butter would. But again, it's kind of relative to portion size. Are you eating a lot? Are you eating a little? Just spreading it on your toast? Are you cooking with it? If you're cooking with butter or margarine, I would actually suggest to go way outside that and cook with avocado oil or olive oil or coconut oil or grapeseed oil, and not use butter or margarine for cooking. And then your sticks, your margarines, I hate to say it, but vegetable shortenings, Crisco type items, that's all trans fats. So what trans fats do is they negatively impact the good cholesterol and the bad cholesterol. So they're decreasing your good cholesterol, which takes a lot of us some really hard work to get up, and it increases your bad. So it's a double whammy to have the trans fats. So trans fats are also known as hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated oils. So I would avoid that and look at that on your ingredients label. And then milk. There are so many theories on milk. The real basis for drinking milk or eating dairy is for the calcium and for the nutrients, not for the fat. So I would actually say to go with a low-fat or fat-free milk, or substitute almond milk, soy milk, something of that nature, just to be sure that you're really getting your calcium. However, dark green leafy vegetables, broccoli, kale, they have a lot of calcium in them. So you can get your calcium without having dairy.
Can I tell my children to talk to you?
Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I ask you about the latest news on antibiotics used in turkeys and chicken and things that are supposedly making us immune?
So there is a lot going on with that. When you feed an animal antibiotics, well, I'll tell you what they're doing. If you're not getting free-range animals and you're going to the general grocery store, they're treating those animals in a way to make them grow bigger, faster, produce more, and they're giving them steroids to do that. So to counteract the steroids, which are making them sick because they can't eat that much. They can't, and the food they're eating isn't their normal diet. So they're eating foods they're not used to. They're getting sick. Then the farmers are treating them with antibiotics, which we ultimately, I'm sure, are consuming. Probably not to the extent that they are, but it's got to be in there. And so I would have to look at some of the studies. I have not, but I would suspect that we are getting some of it. I don't know how much. And I would think that in general, our antibiotic use is high. They're actually doing a lot of work in the hospital setting to decrease the duration and the amount of antibiotics that patients are on, because it interrupts your whole GI tract. So I don't have a clear-cut answer for you. I think there needs to be more information. I need to read it up on it more, and I think there needs to be more studies on it as well. It's a great question, though, and it really does impact the way that we buy food, the way that we eat food, the way we think about food, and also our treatments. If you're on antibiotics for any length of time, you may want to consider having yogurt on a daily basis for the probiotic factor, because antibiotics destroy the good bacteria in your gut. Probiotics put it back. And you need probiotics to maintain that balance so that you're not feeling bloated and irritable and having difficulties going to the restroom. So I would I will look into that more, and that is a fantastic question. I'm sorry I don't have more of a clean-cut answer for you.
So what about range-fed versus organic?
So I'm a skeptic, and I get really nervous because the lack of regulation on those labels. And so I'm just like everybody else. I stand in the supermarket and I'm looking at it, and I have 3 small children, so I'm feeding my family as well, and I'm thinking consciously about this. What am I doing? Is it worth the extra $3 a pound? Does it really make a difference? And it's this mental argument I have with myself all the time, because I really don't know. You read these articles that look so for it, and then you read these articles that this farm was never regulated properly and they were feeding you something that wasn't labeled appropriately. And so I say this. I say moderation, more fruits and vegetables. Proteins are okay. Keep them small. Don't overdo it. I think excess of anything is going to lead us in the wrong direction. And I hope that with people speaking up and being so for a better type of food, that the farms will all have to convert at some point. You all have fantastic questions.
What is the reason behind the popularity of coconut water and coconut oil? And I mean, 10 years ago, you never saw this on the shelves. Now it's all over. And I was with my adult children last week. Oh, here, Mom, try some coconut water. I said, bleh.
And I agree.
Oh my God,
I don't prefer the
it.
flavor either.
So why is it why?
I'll tell you why. Well, I'll tell you what I think. So, coconuts have been around for centuries, and we've sprinkled them on fruit salads, and we've done that sort. Well, there have been some research, some more current research that has shown. I'm going to show you the other side too, because I'm not a true believer yet. That it actually is protective. It's anti-inflammatory. It is protective for the heart. It does positively impact the body and the cholesterol levels. However, I, being the mind that I am, have a little bit of a hard time believing it, and because of this. Because when you look at the breakdown of coconut oil, it's 97% saturated. So these scientists are telling us that this product that we know with our intelligent minds that anything solid at room temperature is not going to go through the body very easily or be digested very easily is better than any other saturated fat on the market. It's all saturated fat. And that's what I have a hard time buying and seeing, is that coconut oil that's solid at room temperature, that's white in color, is going to benefit the body. I'm not sold. There's been reports that have been controversial. One says yes, one says no. I like the flavor of coconut milk, so I'll mix it in a smoothie because I like the benefits of that, but I'm not sold on converting everything to coconut. I think there have been a lot more positive research and response to olive oil and canola oil and grapeseed oil over coconut oil, and I think it's just a trend. I think it's trendy. People get excited about new things, so you'll see coconut in everything right now. And in about 10 years, I think it's going to go in some other direction.
I have a question. I appreciate your focus on taste, and particularly in the seasonal foods. And as you noted, as we age, many of us have problems maintaining appetite.
Yes.
Are there things that you can suggest to sort of help stimulate appetite for those that need it?
Yeah, it's very true. And, you know, your senses, smell, hearing, taste, they all change. And so it's not just one thing that's affecting the appetite, it's all of those things. And food just isn't as important, right? You're eating because you have to, but you really, and it's hard to eat when you don't have an appetite, or you're not craving anything, or it just doesn't sound good. So I would say pick some of your top foods that you know you love or used to love, and have them around and have them in portions. And eating small amounts is really helpful. Making sure you're hydrated, making sure that you're using items that inspire flavor, pepper, garlic, onion, because with the sensation being lessened, you need to awaken it somehow. So having more flavor is going to be so beneficial. Lemon. I use lemon a lot with patients that have dry mouths. So using lemon on your food can help. It kind of awakens things up. Putting lime in your water may help a little bit. I would say small, like you do with a child. You just give them little nibbles throughout the day to make sure you're getting the nutrients without feeling overwhelmed. I hear all the time, this is too much food. It's too much food, I'm overwhelmed. Just cut it in half and just give yourself that, because if we are overwhelmed at first sight, you've already set the stage in your brain that it's too much, that you can't handle that, and it just falls apart from there. So starting off with something that gives you that positive feedback through the receptors in your brain may help as well.
Thank you.
Just have one more. Okay.
I love you guys.
One more. I'm always surprised when the culprit in some of these widespread food poisoning things, say in large restaurants, turns out to be lettuce or a vegetable. Is just rinsing off your my sister-in-law actually washes her vegetables with soap, and I think that would really ruin it for me. But is just washing them with water sufficient?
It is sufficient, but you want to do it for about 30 seconds or more. You don't need those fancy washes or sprays. You're just adding more residue to the food. So you can, but you want to separate it. So if it's lettuce, you want to kind of run your hands through it, separate it, Make sure you're getting everything on the bottom of the bowl or the colander. You could even soak it for a few minutes, and then all the debris raises to the top. Pour it off, and then dry it out. Even melons. Melons are a huge culprit of foodborne illness because I think a lot of people don't realize you have to wash the outside of the melon, because when you slice into it, anything on the outside is going right into the part that you consume. So melons, oranges, I wash everything. I even wash my eggs under cold running water just for 30 seconds, just to make sure that anything on the outside is not going to get in when I open it up.
Thank you very much. That's great.
Other questions? All right, well,
Just a comment. With all this washing.
Well, your microphone?
What's your microphone?
With all this water conservation and, we're being penalized for using too much water, and, maybe I'd just take all of our food and put it out on the lawn when the sprinklers go on, then we would be killing two birds with one stone, right?
There you go. You can even you can wash your fruits and vegetables and store them in water, especially asparagus, to keep it fresh and keep it whole for hardy vegetables like that. Store them in water. Take a big cup, put water in the bottom, and then store them upright, because then your stems won't dry out, and you can eat that part too. Yeah.
all right.
You all were wonderful. Have a very
Thank
happy
you very
holiday, and
much.
thank you for having me.
Holidays. Thank you.
Okay, and I guess we're ready for adjournment, so we'll now adjourn the meeting.